Hello, and welcome to episode 139 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo, with me forever and always, the man, the myth, he'll buy next time, Alessandro Elsie. Say hello, Al.
I see we're playing prison rules, huh?
On this week's episode, perpetual delays, House of the Dragon, and Rick Grimes, along with other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, one of my favorites, the Cable Guy. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We're drinking Newburgh Brewing Company and Friends Zeus Boss India Pale Ale.
This box?
Yeah. So this is a collaboration with the Zeus Brewing Company, a company that I'm not actually familiar with. This was the April... Well, sorry, they had two April releases. The Boss IPA collaboration series, which I mentioned several episodes ago. The 2020 collaboration schedule, January was with Alewife, February was with Captain Lawrence, March was with the brewery at the Culinary Institute, which I believe you have that one as well.
Yeah, we do.
CIA
I had
Boss.
that one in my other hand.
Nice.
When I picked this beer.
I don't recall if I don't think I bought Relic Boss, did I?
Don't know.
This April was Rushing Duck and Zeus. I don't think I got the Rushing Duck one as well. May is Funk Brewing. June is DeChico. They always do one with DeChico. July is Sloop Brewing, which me and Anthony were just talking before we got on the show. That is canning this week.
That's awesome.
Of course, it was right after I
Sloop.
got a delivery from Newburgh, so I'm going to have to pick that up later this week. That one is this year's iteration of the Juice Boss.
Can you when you pick that up, just if you can get me something extra there, that would be, I just already know that I'm on board.
I can get you your own 4-pack. Did you
Oh yes,
you saw the picture I sent to the group the other day, right? The DDH Juice
Yes.
Boss, or not Juice Boss, the DDH Juice Bomb that I have. That was delicious.
Nice.
August is Industrial Arts. September they're doing two. One's with Plan B, which is a farm around here. They supply honey for a beer. And also Bon Place. I don't know what that is. October is Peekskill and Nebco. November is Finback Brewery. And December is, of course, as always, Angry Egbert. So this one is, what do we have to say here? A Tella IPA with our Poughkeepsie buddies. I suppose that means it's one brewed via phone?
Is it telepathy?
It's 7% alcohol by volume. It's 1 pint. That's all I have to say on that, I guess. That's all the can has to say to me.
Now, I've noticed on this can that the Newburgh logo is a heart with a beer glass. I was just going to keep doing this because
I was like, didn't I have this conversation a couple weeks ago when I gave you the glass?
I couldn't. I was trying to hold a straight face, but when I saw your head turn the way that it turned.
Yeah, because I was going for the thing of... well, it's not fair because I had told you moments before we started recording that everything in my memory is totally jumbled outside of work. Like, I remember way too vividly in detail some of the things I have to do for work. Like, I'm spinning way too many plates for work, and somehow I keep it all together in a way has become a fascination among some of my coworkers and some of my bosses. And... I don't remember anything else because I told Anthony right before we started, I was like, oh yeah, I ordered a delivery from Newburgh, including empanadas and 2 beers. And I paused and I was like, oh, I don't remember what beers I ordered. I just knew there was 2 new ones. So I was looking. One of them was Litmus Test, which is like a recurring series they do. It's different every time. So this one is Mojito Madness. And then there was Cold Brew Brown Ale, which is made with, it's their brown with cold brew coffee involved.
Nice.
Nice. But I do remember when we did the episode a few weeks ago where you debuted the Newburgh glass I got you for your birthday, that it had the logo with the heart, the brewed with heart, like moniker on it, and it's got one half of the heart is a frothy glass of beer. And You were surprised by that time. Sincerely, it seemed, despite the fact that logo has been around for a couple of years now.
Just never really paid attention to it. What I am digging is this robot in the toga with a lightning bolt. It's pretty great. Also, I don't know what's going on in the middle of that nut that is his body, but there's a hop in there.
Yeah, it's like some sort of like insignia or logo on his chest that clearly has a heart in it. Also, I love that his like crown of whatever like feathers
his eyebrows
are there his eyebrows. Yeah, that's
100%.
I like that they've they've kind of commandeered the boss logo, that robot that they have in all of their Gigaboss, Megaboss, Teraboss, Nanoboss series, and made him into Zeus. He looks just friendly as can be. Great toga, lightning bolts.
He's got very Johnny Five.
Yeah.
Right?
He's got the
Johnny Five alive.
He's got the Parthenon in the background. There's fluffy clouds under his feet. It's a pretty great version of the boss logo.
Oh man, I'm ready for this one. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that smells delightful.
Whoa.
What's going on there?
I have no idea. I'm not intending to bury the lead. I'm going like one and a thuckle on this, but it's very good. I just don't know what I'm tasting.
Yeah, it tastes like something familiar, but I can't quite place it. It's very good. This is as smooth as an IPA as you can possibly hope for.
Oh my! It's delicious, but I want to know what I'm tasting.
Right? It's funny because usually they have a lot more description on the beer, but I'm realizing that a lot of times with the collaboration series, they don't have as much description on it, which is kind of a disappointment. And this is one that comes with one of those recyclable plastic caps for the 4-pack, so it doesn't even have like the box where they can expound on that.
What is going on there? It's
so fresh.
It's really good.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like the first...
Well, I'll be honest with you. At first, my hand was close to the top of the glass, and it smelled so fresh, and I thought it was like I had washed my hands with this like really nice soap before we started, and I was like, "Oh, that's delightful." And then I realized that it's not my hands that I'm smelling, and I was like, "Oh, that's delightful."
It smells like a glorious spring day, like a beautiful, like 65-degree and sunny April day. That's what this smells like.
What the frig is going on in here?
That's just
I can't breathe it in anymore. I'm never finding out. That's all I've got. This is delicious. If you can get your hands on it, you can't. Let's say if you can get your hands on this, you can't, right?
They might still have some kicking around. I don't know. I can check. It's
don't sleep on this if you can.
This might be
cannot.
This might be worth upgrading from one. This might be worth upgrading from 1 and a thuckle to 2 thumbs. This is a really good beer.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sticking with 1. You know what it is? I think I might be able to give it the 2 if I can actually figure out what the hell's going on inside. But I can't. It's delightful though. It comes as no surprise. Everything we have from them is delicious.
Yes. It's like, I think part of it is it's like piney, right? Like I'm getting very like tree, like budding in spring vibes, but there's a lot of IPAs that have like piney hops, and this is slightly different than that.
Like a little lumberyard action?
Yeah, because like a lot of times, but it's not as resinous as a lot of those like smells can be. Like it's very clean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is really interesting. I will say, this is a dangerous 7.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It feels like a session. Like I feel like the way that it drinks.
Yeah, you would never suspect that this is a particular. Oh god, it's a full 14. Oh my god, I'm checking on the website right now.
Yeah,
it's Brewing Newburgh Brewing. Is it Brewing Delivers? I think is the site.
Okay.
Newburgh Brewing Delivers is the website that they do to deliver. You have to be within a 25-mile radius of Newburgh Brewing. So if you are, check the map that they will deliver to your house. If not, they have a couple of particular packs that you can order through them, and they will ship it through the mail or UPS. I forget. But that's it's not like a la carte. You have to order their specific like packages to do it. And it's anywhere in New York State. But I was just scrolling to see if they still had this one listed. And they don't. So
I've got the description for you here. So Boss telecollab with Zeus Brewing, 7% New England IPA with cashmere and citra in the whirlpool and dry hopped with Nelson, German, Amarillo, and Mosaic.
That's
super soft mouthfeel with bright, ripe notes of mango and berries.
Oh, there was a fruity aspect to it, but I couldn't pick out any one specific fruit. So I was just looking on the site though, so they have
this is awesome. I'm sorry, this was awesome. All right, I'm up. Two it is.
See, I feel like
you get them both. You get them both now.
I feel like it's a requisite to thumbs.
Oh
here.
man,
so, I'm looking. They have the Juice Boss NE IPA. It's the 3rd annual collaboration with Sloop, but they also have under that a limited edition tank top to commemorate the 3rd annual. It's a Juice Boss tank top. That's what it looks like.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I need that in my life, and I'll never wear a tank top. But that I need that one.
What size are you?
Large, probably.
Okay, well, you're about to get one, so.
Oh boy.
Well, you just said you need it, not want. You said you need it in your life.
I do need it.
I'm ordering you a large. You know what? I might have to order 2.
Oh man. I'm gonna have to put some work in so that I can wear one of those.
I could not tell you the last time I wear a undershirt, like tank top type thing. Like I usually wear it to the gym. Mm-hmm. I'll wear it under my shirt for work every day. Yeah. But I haven't worn an actual, honest to God, tank top in easily a decade.
Yeah. I would go longer than that. I'm pretty sure I was like, I don't know, 8. That's probably the last time. It's probably that's like a nice bright orangey and green colors. I kind of vaguely remember what it looks like.
Well, this was the last time I wore it. This one's yellow. So, wait. So you think large or extra large? Oh,
definitely. It's going to be large or medium at this point.
Okay.
So we'll go large.
Well, hopefully I fit in a large because it doesn't seem like. Well, you know what? No, this is dumb. We should order a large and we should order an extra large separately. I was just hoping they'd give me options to do. This is great. This is the first time we've ever done shopping on the show.
On the air, yeah. I'm going to put that in the bookmarks. 17 minutes. Shopping.
Well, so good. This gives me an excuse to make another order then because I'm ordering a couple of cases of those fucking juice bosses.
Amazing. Well, this delightful beer is getting 2 thumbs. But it's time to get in some news and nuggets. And I know since you're shopping right now, I'm going to kick us off because I have a story. I have a story to tell you.
Please, man.
So I found a new doctor. I haven't had like a primary care physician in a long time because I haven't liked the ones that I've gone to.
Oh boy, don't get me started on doctors. I have a primary care doctor. I have not seen him in, I want to say 3 years.
Nice.
Nice. So you haven't gotten far enough into Archer. Make a reference. I'm 99. Yeah, it's the first episode of season 5, which I talked about a few weeks ago. The first episode of Archer Vice, where they get busted and ISIS is no longer allowed to be a spy agency. And there's a montage in which all of them are rolling over on each other because the FBI is turning the screws on them. And they're listing all of the crimes that they may or may not have committed. And so it's like, across like a bunch of scenes, you'll hear Cyril say desecration of a corpse, you know, and someone else saying something, whatever. Cyril comes back, desecration of another corpse, you know. And one of them says, I think it's Pam goes, I want to say Burt Reynolds. And there's like something. And then Carol / Cheryl / Charlene goes, I want to see Burt Reynolds. Which there was a very memorable episode with Burt Reynolds voicing himself in the show. But please tell me about your primary care doctor.
So I found this new one. Came recommended. I went. She was awesome. So we'll start off there. Best doctor that I've been to in a long time. But it was funny because like when you go to a new doctor and you have to fill out all that paperwork, and it's like all of these questions. It's like with questions that I just don't have answers to, like family history stuff that like maybe I should know some of it, but not all of these questions. Some of them are ridiculous. Anyway, a couple of them are, it's like, it always comes, like there's always the questions of like, do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you do drugs? All that jazz. So like under drinking, I was like, yes. And then it's like amount. And I was like, I don't know, a few a week. Right? And then, so what they do is
once a week. Every Wednesday night.
Right. Exactly. So you get in there and she's going over the responses that you put in so she can like get a little bit more clarity if she needs some more answers. And so we get to the drinking one. She's like, so drinking, she's kind of socially. I was like, yeah, like a couple of drinks, a few drinks a week. And she goes, okay. She's like, she's like, that seems like you're well within the threshold. She goes, we really don't flag it unless it's more than 2 a day. And I was like, Jesus. And I was like, I guess I could drink more, is what you're telling me.
I guess I'm not going to go to your doctor.
But I was, I thought that was pretty high. Thinking about that, 2 a day plus.
Yeah, I don't actually have 2. Lately,
Sorry, more than. She was saying that she wouldn't like bat an eye at 2 a day.
Oh, okay. Well, especially right now. Well, oh wait, so I didn't mention it on our show. Did you get a chance to listen to my appearance on the Shortcast last week?
Not yet, no.
It's totally fine. It's just I remembered that I mentioned something on that show. Just how I occasionally bring random news and nuggets to it.
Sure.
Not even like full blown discussion topics, right? Just like here's the thing.
You're usually good for a 5-piece.
Yeah. So the one I heard last week that I brought up on their show was that during the pandemic, there was some study that was done over the course of, I think it was an 11-week span. And the total came out, and I'm probably botching the math slightly on the total amount of hours, but they were saying the total amount of hours over like this 11-week span was, I think, 172 or 176 or something like that hours the average adult was drunk in that span. It came out to basically the average adult was drunk for like 2.5 hours a day. During this 11-week span of the pandemic.
It is fun to break it down that way, right? Because it's really what it comes down to is a few people that are really fucking up the curve. But
but like the thing is, it's different because you and me have worked through this. You 100% from home, as you've been doing pre-pandemic. Me 100% in public, varying from like 10 hours a day to as many as 14 hours a day out at work. So I literally don't have the time to be drunk that much. You literally don't have time to be drunk that much. I mean, I guess maybe you have slightly more availability to it than I do, just by the token of being in your home the whole time.
Sure.
I know you're not drunk during
but etiquette and all that.
Well, sure, but I meant even if you work a long
business ethics.
What I meant was even if you work a long day for you, right? You're in your home the whole time. You have no commute, no nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
right. So close down the computer. You could technically grab a drink.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could be signing off for the day, and your beer cooler is
with a beer
feet away. So you could be doing that and drinking right then from, let's say, 5.
Those beers are for the show. I'm a professional.
Yeah, so you could be drinking from 6 to 10 o'clock, and you have no commute. You have nothing to worry about. Like,
that's fair.
Technically, be drunk for 4 hours some night, not every night. Probably.
Sure.
There are a lot of people who've been out of work. And there has been, of course, a lot of people who are either bored, depressed, self-medicating, whatever. Some of it's happy drunk, some of it's sad drunk. So when you think about it, let's say you're not working. Now, maybe you're not drinking every day, but there's probably some days where you're like, well, fuck it. I'm not doing anything. Might as well have a few drinks. Like, I'm not trying to get fucked up, but if I do, oh well, I got nothing to do tomorrow. And I don't say that flippantly at all. Like, I totally sympathize with like that mentality of, well, I've got nothing else going on. It's not like I could even because think about when the pandemic started, like early March in our country. You're not going out to like the park. You're not having like a good day out in like open air or anything at that point. Like, you're just sitting in your house, maybe alone, maybe with 1 or 2 or 3 family members. Mm-hmm. Like, I understand it. I don't judge that at all. It's just stark when you see the math, right?
Yeah. There's I don't know. Forgive me. I can't cite him because I don't remember his name or what the videos are. But I'm sure if you like generally searched some phrase, you could find him. But there's this dude that's been doing these videos where he's turning Disney songs like into quarantine songs in a really great way. And
I have seen some things like that, so I may have seen the same videos.
One of them that I really enjoyed was him turning "Do you want to build a snowman" into "Do you want to start drinking?" And it's like it's all about how it's like 11:30. He's got a bottle of wine. His wife's in the bedroom, and he's talking to her through the door. And it turns into them just like having had enough of each other, and it's really funny.
That's great.
You gotta those quarantine Disney songs are solid.
That just reminded me. I saw earlier. I meant to send it to you too. I don't know if it was a new video or a slightly older one that they just like replayed for like good times. But Funny or Die did a video like mocking the casting process of like movies, and it's Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell, and it's Dax casting for Chips for an actress to play his wife in the movie. And it's Kristen who's like auditioning, and she's like, do I really? And like he's doing it very formally as if they've never met before. And nice. She's like, do we really need to do this? Like you told me you wrote the part for me. Like he goes, if you could just slate your name.
That's so good.
The camera, and she's like, but that's for people who you don't know. Like that's for actresses who are like for the record, like you obviously know who I am. Like you told me you wrote the part for me, honey. Like yeah, she's calling it like honey. Like
that's pretty great. That's awesome. Did you see Chips? Did we do Chips?
We did not do Chips. I've never seen Chips.
Okay, it's pretty good. We should do it. It's fun.
That's one of those movies where there's a bunch of people who really liked the movie, but it feels like the prevailing consensus was that it was very bad.
Oh, no way. Definitely not.
It was reviewed very poorly.
Sure, but I mean, I don't know. There's a certain type of movie that I don't expect to review well. The movie is it's very entertaining.
Well, it's for sure reviewed poorly by critics, but even amongst my recollection of audience like impressions, it was very mixed. Like a bunch of
we should watch it because it's fun. It's a fun movie.
I was actually intrigued by it when it was coming out, and I did not watch the show. I have no connection to the original show.
Neither do I. I would suggest watching the movie and then going and listening to. It's an early episode of Armchair Expert where he has Michael Pena on, and it's good. It's really funny to have hear them talk about it.
I've been knocking through a bunch of them off and on over the last few weeks. I listened to Julia Louis-Dreyfus today. I listened to Jeff Garlin the other day.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Those are both across a couple of weeks, sometime about a year ago. I guess it was the summer of last year. The Garland one was really, really good.
Yep.
The Louis Dreyfus one was good. I'm a big fan of hers as well.
She's awesome.
I have another one from I feel like there's for whatever reason it seems like he clusters a bunch of people I'm interested in, because I told you there was I think it was from September of last year or something like that. There was literally 4 weeks in a row where I was
you were just
super interested in who they're talking. I have another one that's queued up for some time whenever I don't have stuff that's coming out live, I fill in with
you have a backlog. That's good.
I don't remember who it is, but I have another one that's up that I'm excited for from them.
If you want to listen to another one, I also listened to Life is Short with Justin Long, which I think is really funny. And he recently had, and I don't understand why in the past 4 weeks this man has come up I don't know, daily. But he had Tom Green on, and it was great. It was such a good interview.
I can think of at least one reason why he's come up recently.
Well, you giving me the beer with his face on it was the first time it came up in a long time, and then all of a sudden it's somebody told me their favorite movie was Freddy Got Fingered, and then I saw him in some clip that I was watching, and then he was on, I think it was 2 different interview podcasts. I was what is It's you know when you hear a word that you're that's not a word. And then all of a sudden you hear it everywhere.
Yeah, it's funny. Someone just sent me something the other day. There's actually a name for that, and it's the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, when you hear a word that you've never heard of before, and then all of a sudden it keeps popping up over and over.
Yeah. It's not that it wasn't there, it's just that you never retained it because it was your brain is processing a billion things all the time that you just I don't need this shit. Until one day you need the definition.
Which paradoxically, just having heard of that term the other day and then having it come up in conversation is its own thing. It's kind of fucking with my head a little bit.
Let's get out of here. Tell me about Rick Grimes.
Oh, sure. That was a professional transition. I love that. The Walking Dead creator gives update on the Rick Grimes movie. This is on IGN for Matt Fowler. Robert Kirkman says the pandemic has given them time to get the script right. At this weekend's virtual...
hang on. All right.
At this week, well, you know what? Fair enough that Robert Kirkman said it and not like Greg Nicotero or something.
Sure.
At this weekend's virtual Skybound Expo panel, Skybound Past, Present, and Future, Skybound co-founder and Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman gave fans an update on the Rick Grimes sequel movie, which will follow Andrew Lincoln's character Rick following his departure from the TV series in Season 9. In The Walking Dead Season 10, star Denai Guerrera left the series in an episode where her character, Michonne, discovered that Rick might still be alive. Guerrera is expected to join Lincoln in the spin-off movie. There's tons of stuff going on behind the scenes, Kirkman said. I don't want anyone to think that we're just kind of waiting around for this pandemic to end. I would say that if anything, the pandemic is going to make a lot of movies better. I think the Rick Grimes movie chief among them, just because we're getting a lot more time to cook this thing and make sure it's perfect. But when things do quiet down, you guys are going to hear a ton more about this movie.
That's cool.
And
that's going to air on AMC, right?
Yeah, if I recall correctly, I thought they were planning an AMC air alongside a theatrical release, or maybe a limited theatrical release. But
I hope so.
I could be wrong, but it is going to air on AMC for sure.
Oh man,
some point.
I'm dying. I'm dying for the movies, Al. Dying.
Really? That's surprising. I heard you talking shit about it the other day when I was listening to an episode of Game Bites. I don't remember which one, but you mentioned... Oh, it was when you talked The Last of Us.
What about it? Just how good it was?
No, just the opposite, in fact. No, The Walking Dead, not...
Oh, about The Walking Dead? Oh, yeah. No, sorry. I'm not interested in that. I'm not dying for The Walking Dead movie. I'm dying for the movies.
Oh, okay.
Woo! Let's clear this up real quick. No,
there.
The Walking Dead is a nightmare at this point.
Yeah, that was kind of the gist of what you're... Yeah, I didn't watch most of the most recent season or half season. It's actually a little sad. I don't often leave shows. I often stick them through. There's only you can probably count on one hand the amount of shows I watched more than a season of that I didn't see through. Mm-hmm. I'm not usually a completionist, but often I find some excuse to be connected to the material.
Sure.
But at this point, with how long it's been, even
you're done.
I haven't watched the last season or so of Fear the Walking Dead, and that show had actually gotten to be substantially better than The Walking Dead at the point in which I left it off at. But eventually, it just got to be too much. With the amount of things I watch, I just didn't have reasons to come back to.
Yeah, I dropped Fear. I wasn't super into it, and then I was like, because it felt more of the same to me at the time, and I was just like, I'm already having issues with The Walking Dead, and I just feel like it's just sunk cost at this point. That's why I continue to watch it. But I was not willing to put in the time for Fear the Walking Dead anymore.
Yeah, that was it for me, and it got to the point where it was really close where I was like, man, I just don't care what's going on, and then it pivoted, and I was like, oh wow, this actually is really
oh hello
again. Which is why, like, if anything, I'm more inclined to go back and watch more of that than The Walking Dead at this point.
I'd be more inclined to go back and restart The Walking Dead and just like stop after the second season. Just rewatch the first 2 or 3 seasons, enjoy the ride, and just move on.
So basically just sign off after Rick kills Shane.
No. I liked the second season too.
That was in the second season.
Was it the second one?
Yeah, it was like the second to last or the final episode of the second season. The first season's only like 6 episodes.
The first season, the CDC. That's right. Then maybe I like the first 3 seasons. You know who I miss? I think it all went downhill once Herschel was gone.
Yes, there's been a lot of people... Well, 2 things. It's Dale going... He was the moral compass of the show to that point.
Right.
When he dies, and that's towards the end of the second season. Might have even been like the second or third to last episode of the second season. That there was kind of psychic trauma on the show after that. And then once Herschel goes at the end of... Was it the 3rd or 4th season? At that point, they really went kind of fully off the rails.
Yeah. It's wild. I will say, I fell off on the comics, and I really want to go back and finish them. I don't have much.
Didn't Dominic spoil the end of the comics for you on one of the episodes he was on?
Oh yeah, your brother likes to spoil things and pretend it's no big deal. Like he does it. He also like does it on purpose.
Well, so here's I think what happened in that case in particular, but this is a recurring theme with him. What'll happen is he gets caught up in the excitement and the emotion of the thing that he wants to talk about, and then he spoils something for you, and then he defensively he feels bad, and instead of apologizing, he like doubles down.
Yeah, it makes it worse. That's something else.
Yeah. So it's not malicious.
Sure.
It is inconsiderate.
It's not malicious. No, yes. It's the one time is forgivable. 2 times is borderline. But we're on like 3, 4, 5. Like it's
Well, yeah. So I mean,
it's getting to the point where I'm going to watch something specifically that I'm not interested in, and I'm just going to call your brother. Take that, Peanut Gallery.
Well, anyway, to finish this story,
He'll never see it coming because he doesn't listen.
No.
Burn.
Douchebag. The Walking Dead season 10 finale never aired due to the pandemic interrupting the post-production work needed to complete the episode, so fans have been left stranded on the precipice of a brutal war with Beta and his horde of walkers for months.
Whoa. That wasn't the end, the way that it ended?
No.
It was very Walking Dead ending. I'm surprised.
I wouldn't know, so...
Where it ended and you go, all right.
Also delayed due to COVID-19 is the Walking Dead World Beyond, the franchise's second official spinoff, which was on April 12th.
They just they beat the horse. They're eating parts of it. You know, it's just bad. Just stop.
Well, I wish
cats have 9 lives, Al.
Rather than spending so many resources on creating a diminishing return situation with all these additional shows, I'd rather they refocus their efforts and resources on making these shows as good as they were.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than continuing to dilute, why not refine?
Sure. You know what? I still have there's just still a whole bad taste in my mouth associated. It's not really related to the show so much, but the whole really enjoying Talking Dead and then being really frustrated. Yeah. And needing to move off from that. I was that really soured part of the experience.
I haven't watched The Talking Dead since all of that happened.
Oh, same.
What's his name?
I was shocked that he returned.
Yeah, it's and AMC hasn't gotten any shit for that really that I've seen,
which is very strange to me,
right? Because I feel like that's exactly. I mean, sure, what's her name? It was Chloe something. I think that's her name. She didn't press any charges or whatever. She specifically said she didn't want to. She wasn't going to use any official names, even though everyone knew exactly who she was talking about. Mm-hmm. It was not even remotely unsubstantiated. There was a litany of people who came out who know the both of them who were like, oh yeah, no, that's what happened.
Which is it's really funny. Not funny. It's really frustrating because honestly, it's just with everything, you should remove yourself from the situation. They should have taken him off. They should have moved on from that. Also, they had to let Nicole Brown fill in a couple times, and she was awesome. And she's a super fan. And watching the episodes with her was so much fun. And then when he came back, I was like, oh. Yeah. And then I stopped watching.
And now it's just oh, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing about that anymore. I mean, maybe if he was still hosting at midnight, it would be
maybe
a thing. That show ended right before that all came out, and it ended.
That was so strange.
Not because of that; it just ended as a natural progression. It's a shame because even though I never actually watched the show consistently, I was a big fan of it when I did choose to watch it. Mm-hmm. It was a funny fucking show,
right?
And I even feel weird about that sort of thing, and I know. Can get into the debates of separating the art from the artist and all that, but
sure, I still feel like I need to take a shower.
Yeah, it's just
ugh. Anyway, let's move on from The Walking Dead. That's enough of
that. My last note on The Walking Dead was simply that it came up twice between the mention of Dale and shows that didn't end because the post-production work couldn't finish because of COVID.
Oh,
it just reminded me of the actor who played Dale, who I'm totally blanking on his name right now. And he is on Billions. He's one of the best parts of Billions all the time. He's been a guest host or guest star on the show since the beginning. I don't know why he's not considered a series regular because he's been on the show a lot. He plays
Jeffrey DeMunn?
Yes, him. Jeffrey DeMunn plays Paul Giamatti's father on the show.
Whoa! I can see that.
He's Chuck Rhodes Sr., and he's such a bastard on the show. But he's so funny. He's like our bastard. He's a lovable one because he has a lot of great lines, even though he's a total douchebag. And he gets into the situation where he could be exposed to some legal ramifications. He's a billionaire. He's an old school, old money guy. Mm-hmm. And he runs into it with the guy who's playing... he's not a district attorney. He was like one of the top like federal like prosecutors. I can't even think of like what role he is, but it's Clancy Brown, who's his voice. He's been in a billion things, and as a voice actor, as a live action actor, right. He was the not the warden, but he was the head of the guards in Shawshank. Mm-hmm. He's got that very gravelly voice that you'd recognize kind of anywhere, and he's threatening him. He's threatening Jeffrey DeMunn, and he says, "Do you know what prison smells like?" And Jeffrey DeMunn goes, "Is it dick?" I feel like it's dick. Clancy Brown starts cracking up. I don't know if he broke character or if it was in the script or whatever, or if he broke and they're like, "No, this is better." And he goes, "I do imagine you detect a whiff of that."
Oh my god.
It's one of the best lines of the whole show. Or I think he said, "Is it dick? I'm betting it's dick." I think
that's great.
That's what he said. It's one of the best lines. It's one of the best line deliveries in the show. It's just an incredible moment.
That's so silly.
I felt like that was a better note to end on than the sound.
I appreciate the transition. Let's talk about something else that's horrifying to me, and that is this concept that Tenet might not be coming out.
Yeah. So I got a note on that. This was on Variety. Christopher Nolan, Tenet delays August release, which is a thing that we all knew was going to happen.
Sure.
We've always known was going to happen.
Well, go next July at this point. Do the same date you wanted to do, just next year.
For sure. Warner Brothers has removed Tenet from its release calendar, delivering a big blow on the exhibition industry at a time when movie theaters had hoped to peg their reopening to the late summer debut of Christopher Nolan's sci-fi thriller. Though necessary given the mass uncertainty over when cinemas across the globe can safely reopen, the decision further complicates Hollywood's already bumpy plan to revive moviegoing. Tenet was originally scheduled to debut on July 17th, but it was pushed back to July 31st and then August 12th. It's unclear when it will now welcome audiences, but the studio expects to announce a new release date, quote, imminently. We'll share a new 2020 release date imminently for Tenet, Christopher Nolan's wholly original and mind-blowing feature, said Warner Brothers chairman Toby Emmerich in a statement. Our goals throughout this process have been to ensure the highest odds of success for our films, while also being ready to support our theater partners with new content as soon as they could safely reopen. In what would be a surprise move, Warner Brothers may release Tenet overseas before it opens in the United States. Though North America remains the biggest movie-going market in the world, international cinemas look to be ahead of the States in their efforts to reopen. Sources at the studio stress they will have to be flexible with plans to unveil Tenet, suggesting the film won't have a traditional rollout.
Interesting.
We're not treating Tenet like a traditional global day-and-date release, and our upcoming marketing and distribution plans will reflect that, Emmerich said. Tenet, which stars John David Washington and Robert Pattinson, is intentionally shrouded in secrecy, and a staggered rollout could raise concerns about piracy and spoilers in a way that could impact demand to see the film. However, it could be welcome news for exhibitors in Europe and Asia, two robust film markets that haven't had a new Hollywood release to entice audiences in months. In their blueprints to reopen, movie theater owners recently expressed concern to Variety that the global box office has all but been, quote, forgotten by the U.S. studios. Previous films from Nolan have earned more than 50% of box office revenues from theaters overseas. Major tentpoles can generate as much as 2/3 of ticket sales from international venues. But Tenet faces a unique caveat in China, the world's second largest movie market. Currently, its exhibitors cannot screen movies that exceed 2 hours in length. Tenet runs at just over 2 hours and 30 minutes. Unless the country eases up on that restriction, there's no sense of when it'll be able to play in China.
Interesting.
Warner Brothers also announced Monday that The Conjuring 3 had been postponed to June 4th, 2021. The eighth entry in the studio's horror franchise was scheduled to debut in theaters on September 11th, which is super weird. That's my own personal editorial note there. However, the quote, "The Conjuring, the devil made me do it," was supposed to have additional shoots in April. Since film production hasn't been able to resume, it wouldn't be ready in time for its target release date. I'm just going to keep reading through Anthony's choking and dying.
That's why are we done yet?
That's why I couldn't stop reading it. I needed to get that title in there.
Oh my god. I will say, no, go ahead, open. If other countries are able to safely open theaters and have it play, they deserve it as a reward.
Well, it's funny. I've seen a lot of that sort of mentality. I've seen it a lot around sports. People who commentate on or are involved with sports saying sports is an indication of a healthy, well-run country. We're not that right now.
Right.
And that's not a statement of any way, shape, or form of politics. It's a statement of we are literally not a healthy country at the moment. And the way that everything around the health of the nation is being run right now is not up to par. And that's at both the federal and state level and municipality level. So we don't get the rewards. We don't get the goodies, the treats of, we're going to go see movies now.
No.
I am so jonesing for sports right now. I don't understand how they're going to run sports. I appreciate that they all, for so far, football is still hemming and hawing on this, are doing it without fans. That at least gives it a chance to work. It also gives it a chance to not kill everyone in the country.
Sure.
Because you're not going to have 50,000 people sitting together every night. I just don't understand how they can do any of these things. It's not going to be safe. I went to dinner at a restaurant the other day. I was sitting outdoors. If it was indoors, I would not have gone.
Sure.
It was sitting outdoors. It was sitting outdoors on a street in Long Beach in Long Island. And it was outdoor. The tables were like 10 feet apart. The server was wearing a mask. If it was not like those exact circumstances, I would have not been anywhere near that.
Yeah, man. Even that, when things inevitably do open again, even then, it's going to take me a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we were out. I went out with a couple of my friends to the beach on Saturday. It was a gorgeous, perfect day. 90 degree, not a cloud in the sky. Water was like 75 degrees. It was fucking perfect. We found a spot on the beach. We got there early. No, we were not near anyone else. Even over the course of the day, when it got quite crowded there, no one was anywhere near us. So we felt comfortable. We weren't on like boardwalks and stuff like that. We weren't going into any of the places there. We left. We went to dinner at this restaurant, and they were like, hey, no more than 5 customers are allowed in the restaurant. They had 4 tables that could fit up to 4 people at each, sitting like 10 feet apart on the the sidewalk in front of the restaurant. So me and my 2 friends were sitting at one of those tables outside, nowhere near anyone else. And the server was wearing a mask, and it's like, you know what? This isn't too bad. But if it was anything else, like they were like, while you're waiting for the table outside, would you rather sit inside? And we were like, no, we would not.
Yeah, there's like a lot of places that have like repurposed the parking lot over here to be like tents and tables outside.
I've seen 1 or 2 places.
They are, but it might as well be inside. The way they are very close. Yes. And I don't really get it. But either way, I'm not participating.
Yeah.
So.
No, I felt comfortable because if I had reached out from my table with my arm outstretched and the person at that table had reached out with their arm outstretched,
you still wouldn't be able. Yeah,
it would still have been a couple of feet between our hands. So
that's cool.
And like I said, it was out in open air. That's the other thing with like those tents. I mean, yeah, I get it's open air, but still, like, if you've ever sat underneath a tent outdoors in like the heat. You realize how it gets really hot under the tent because the hot air up top doesn't go anywhere.
I do.
So, like, it's still kind of the same thing. This was totally open air, and people were respectful walking up and down the sidewalks. They were not walking right behind
away.
our back. They were walking out towards the edge of the street. No one was ever right over my shoulder.
Nice. That's cool. That's good. There's enough talk about this stuff. Like, let's keep it light and move out of here.
Sure.
What's up with the House of the Dragon?
Well, before I go to the House of the Dragon, there was one other note I had.
Okay.
Super short. I've read something the other day, and if anyone is interested in reading it, I can link it or I can send it to you or whatever. There was something they wrote in the Ringer about how I sent you guys that little screenshot of that one blurb from the beginning of that article, but it was basically about how everything might change with Tenet and what they choose to do with releasing it. And even they were pitching a model similar to old school movie releases, like way back when there was essentially like a traveling show of when a movie would release somewhere, and it would release in small format in, like, say, New York, and then a couple of weeks later in Chicago, and then a couple of weeks later.
Hey, man. That's how I saw Jay and Silent Bob rebooted.
Right? Like, so, like, that sort of thing, like, there could be an appetite for that sort of thing. I just found it to be curious.
It was an event. There was beer. There was popcorn. There was a Q&A. It was awesome. It was a whole evening.
Exactly.
This is going to be a whole evening just as a movie, but it's...
Well, anyway, I found that interesting. It's on the Ringer. It was like yesterday. You'll be able to see it. It was like the future of movie going could be changed entirely by Tenet or something like that. So if you're curious in reading it, it's there for you to find.
Cool.
House of the Dragon. HBO begins casting for Game of Thrones prequel. It's unknown what characters the series will focus on at this point. HBO has begun the casting process for its Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon. It was ordered straight to series by HBO last October, though word on the series has been quiet since then. Much like the rest of the TV industry, this series likely saw its production scheduling reshaped in light of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The casting has now commenced, according to Entertainment Weekly. House of the Dragon. It's a prequel set in the universe of HBO's Game of Thrones series, based on George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood book. Both the book and the HBO series are based on Martin's Game of Thrones book series. That's a really redundant sentence.
Yep.
The Game of Thrones TV show ended last year, and House of the Dragon will be the first venture back into Westeros since that controversial finale.
Wait, can I clarify a question? Because I know you read the books. Isn't the Game of Thrones or A Game of Thrones one of the books?
Yes. So the series is called A Song of Ice and Fire. A Game of Thrones is the first book in the series.
Okay, so it's not based on the A Game of Thrones series.
Yeah. What is that? What it said?
That's what it sounded like. You said. I was just curious. I feel like a lot of time there's there's so much reporting on this type of stuff that it's like it's not worded properly a lot of the times, and not that it really matters that much, but I don't know, if you know enough about the details, it seems like it does. And I feel like I'm only like tangentially related to some of this information, and and I know that I don't know.
No,
it just bothers me sometimes.
I went back and looked, and it is worded that way. It's kind of ambiguous the way the sentence is worded, but it's not correct. It should be A Song of Ice and Fire if you're talking about the book series. Fire and Blood is a book about the history of the House Targaryen, and it's set 300 years before Game of Thrones. It covers over 100 years of Targaryen history and sees many a leader rise to fame and fall from grace within it. EW reports its sources say that the famous Dance of Dragons, a civil war between Targaryens, will be a part of the show at some point. It's possible the series could center around Aegon's conquest, a destructive war that saw House Targaryen usher in the reign of House Targaryen. Something frequently referenced in Game of Thrones. Ryan Condal, best known for writing the TV series Colony and 2018's Rampage, will serve as the showrunner alongside Miguel Sapochnik, who directed some episodes of Game of Thrones. He will direct the pilot and an unspecified number of episodes afterward. HBO has ordered 10 episodes for the series. It's expected to premiere in 2022.
Oh, what? So a one season show?
Well, it's been ordered for one season. They
haven't
renewed it for any additional seasons yet, obviously, because they haven't even casted the show yet.
Man, have a little bit of a thirst for this one season, this limited series like situation. Like we've talked about this on the show numerous times. I'm a movie guy over TV guy. You seem to be maybe you lean a little bit more towards TV.
It's like 55-45 TV.
We can really, I feel like we could both really enjoy a single season series.
Well, I forget now because it's been so long. Did you ever watch all of Watchmen?
No, I didn't.
You started it though, right?
I did. Yeah, it was just at a weird time where I was like watching a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, that's not the type of show you should start and then leave off. But if that's the poster child for that sort of approach.
Well, I will say that it's maybe because I will say also that like I wasn't necessarily. I thought it was good. I wasn't super captivated. Like something like really Deus. I didn't think that it was super captivating. Something like Deus was. I mean, I couldn't wait for the next episode.
Well, it's funny because those two shows took almost an entirely different approach where Deus starts out with a fucking bang, and it's just balls to the walls insanity for the first 4 episodes, and the final 4 episodes is more spreading its wings and figuring out and ruminating on what's going on. Watchmen took the first 4 episodes to really establish what's going on and build the world and all of that and create a lot of depth and character development, and then everything goes nuts in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I'll probably go back to it. I do think that it maybe it spends a little too for me. Maybe it spends a little too much time in that space because it's like there's a fine line for me between like good development and spoon feeding. It's
hard because it's built on a very established world and a very established property, and it's creating an extension of it, and so it's hard. You're not wrong, but I gave them a little leeway for it because it's hard to create something that you want to be accessible to a wide audience of people while also servicing
saying true
who are
that's fair. That's a fair assessment. I will say sometimes I wonder like what these people could have done with maybe just something original entirely.
That handholding does not happen after a certain point in the show. The second half of the show there is no handholding at all. It's just we're doing this.
Okay, I don't think I got there, so maybe that'll help me. But I'll probably go back to it. Unfortunately, I'd probably start over. It's been too long.
No, you should because like, it's been like 6 months, 8 months, or whatever.
Yeah. God, I don't even know. Yeah, it's. I'd probably do like maybe I would set it to like an episode a week.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how it aired. So yeah. No, I mean, it's probably honestly not a great binge candidate. It's the type of thing where like maybe you watched 1 episode a night or every other night, or like you said, once a week or something like that.
I think that there was one day, actually the last time that I watched it, I think I watched 2 episodes in a row, and I was just tired. I was just like I didn't have the draw to go back. But
it's super heavy too, so like it's nice to be able to walk away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. So maybe I'll schedule it out.
It's so fucking good though. It's just, even if you don't love it as much as me or Gary did, like, because I know we talked about it with Gary when he was on one time. Anyone who has an appreciation for what's going on in the world right now, anyone who has an appreciation for really well-made television and performances and all that, should be able to appreciate this, whether or not they love the total sum of its parts the way that everyone else does.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good way of phrasing it too. Mechanically, I thought it was working out really well. I did they were doing some really, it was well done. The performances so far were really, I was super captivated with, her name just was in my head and it
Regina
left.
Hall.
Yeah, dude. Powerhouse. Right? Like, great character.
I'm a little torn now because I think next week is when they're going to finally announce the Emmy nominations, but she's going to go directly up against Ray Perlman, who we have been fucking banging the table for years now to win Best Actress for a TV show as Kim Wexler in Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
It's such a tough call where, like, if she wins it, it's like, okay, fine, I'll allow it. But people need to recognize how good she's been for years now.
Sure.
As Kim.
Sure. Yeah, it's great. Oh my god, that the finale of Better Call Saul. Man, awesome. Yeah. I'm not even gonna say what you did because it's you have to see it in the show.
You do.
If you haven't seen it by now.
Haunting.
Oh god, yes. Oh man. I want to rewatch that.
I have to say that's probably one of my proudest moments on the show, even though it caught me totally unaware. You giving me the props for that call so far in advance. I was like, that's got to be the best thing I've done on the show. The whole time we've been doing this.
Cool. So, are you excited at all about this House of Dragons? What is it? House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
House of Dragons.
Once I see
different show.
Once I see who they fully casted, and once I see a trailer for it, like I have enough time to create the distance from Game of Thrones. Like it'll have been like roughly 3 years since the show aired.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can recapture the zeitgeist at that point.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like
that'll be interesting.
For such a long running show to try something new like that so many years later. I mean, I guess it worked for Better Call Saul with Breaking Bad. Like,
there's with Game of Thrones, there was that weird thing of like there is a hidden population that was really attached to the series, and then there's probably a population that's twice the size of that pretended they were, and then me, who just came into the show and enjoyed it.
I don't like pretended. That doesn't feel fair. But there were definitely.
I came across more people that pretended that they were super into the books and stuff, and went way back with this story.
I guess that wasn't my experience for the most part. My experience was there was a lot of people who loved the show, even though they didn't always have a great handle on the lore. They just liked it for what it was. The way that you would be a fan of, like, I don't know, Family Guy or South Park or any other long-running show that you don't necessarily have to have a concept of the world in its nitty-gritty minutia. I didn't run into anyone who like acted like they read the books and didn't. So I felt like, for the most part, my experience with other viewers was pretty authentic. But I mean, I'm not surprised. There was definitely people who acted like they were super big fans, and they're like, "Oh, who is that again?" And it's like, well, they've been like a lead for like 30 years, but like they never acted like they were a super fan in the sense of like knowing all the little bits and like theorizing and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
You know, it was just people who were like, "Yeah, I like to tune in and watch every week." You know?
Yeah. Man, I'd probably be more excited about it if the first didn't go the way of The Walking Dead.
Well, I think the fact that this has a totally separate set of like showrunners and
that could definitely help. Just tighten it up. If you only have a storyline that lasts this long, it lasts this long. That's it. You know, newsroom style. Maybe I'll be bummed that there's only a couple episodes in the third season. But if you're done, you're done.
Well, you know, like they couldn't do that with Game of Thrones, right? Like, because there was all that source material. Like they had what?
But towards the end?
Well, sure, but I mean, they did kind of very roughly outline where it was going.
Right.
Like they just, at the point that the books ended, the show was nowhere near over. Like, if we thought it felt like it was too rushed and not done with enough detail to end the story when it did, could you imagine doing it like a season or two after the books ended?
Wait, I say that again? I don't think I followed.
Like, a lot of the complaints about this was, like it felt rushed at the end. We didn't get all the detail we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't clean. The storylines didn't always make a lot of sense. If they had tried to shorten that and tighten that, it would have felt even more rushed.
Why shorten and tighten it?
Well, isn't that what you just said, is when you have the end of a story, like, end it?
No. That's not what I meant at all. I just don't want them to stretch out. I don't want them to Walking Dead a thing with like this new series. My issue with the other with Game of Thrones is like I mean I understand like there are monetary implications, but they were not ready to do the rest of it.
Yeah, sorry. The way you phrase it, I thought you were criticizing them running the show as long as I was like, but they
not at all. I honestly would have preferred a long break and a return.
Which they did do for a year. Like there was a year without Game of Thrones.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I also know that like there is at the end of the day that it's a business, right? Like they can't lose the entire audience. But it still sucked because like it was not where it should have ended.
Well, looking back, considering it's been a decade since George R.R. Martin has submitted a manuscript for publication for a novel, of which he has at least technically 2 more to publish.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I knew now what I knew then, if I knew then what I know now, that's what I meant to say. I'd rather just eschew the whole charade around writing the books and just have him stay fully. Okay, I'm never going to finish the books. Let me just help finish the show as best possible. And have like a gifted
person there's people that can translate from script to novel. Like even it might not have the same feeling as the previous book, but maybe it was time to switch over. Yeah. Yes.
Like just make sure the story ends, because the way things are going right now, we're going to have a dissatisfying end to the show and the novel.
Right.
So
right.
Do it right in one of the formats then. Because it's obvious that the show declined once it outstripped the novels. But that's an overly simplistic way to look at it. Because we're forgetting the fact that at that point is also when Martin no longer was directly hands-on involved with the show anymore.
Right.
He was no longer writing an episode a season. He was no longer being a part of the writing room for the whole season and walking them through what they needed to do, what they could cut. His direct involvement is and the lack of it is what caused the show to derail, not the lack of books. They weren't just reading the books and extrapolating. He was physically there to be involved with the show, and he wasn't.
Yeah. That's a shame. But what are you going to do? It's over now. We move on to new things. Al, would you like to have some fun and games?
Always.
Always? I'm not sure if we may have done something similar to this. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I have a Jim Carrey quiz.
Oh, wow.
I have a which Jim Carrey character are you quiz. And I feel like we did something similar, but we definitely didn't do this one because I looked through it and I don't remember any of the questions.
We did a week or 2 or 3 ago what Nicolas Cage character I am.
Yeah. I think it was last week. Okay, anyway.
Whenever we did Face Off.
Yeah, this is which Jim Carrey character are you? So which of these dogs would you like as a pet? Jack Russell Terrier, Dalmatian, English Bulldog, Yellow Labrador Retriever, Beagle, or Italian Greyhound?
That is quite a list. I was expecting 3 or 4 options, and it ended up being 6?
Yeah.
Sorry, could you run those through me again?
Sure. Jack Russell Terrier, Dalmatian, English Bulldog, Italian Greyhound, Beagle, Yellow Labrador Retriever.
I guess a Yellow Lab. Why not?
Okay. Your crush is flirting with you. What do? Become awkward, make a joke, flirt back, blush, downplay it. They were flirting?
Make a joke.
Okay. Pick a comedian. Zach Galifianakis, Robin Williams, Chris Rock, Bill Murray, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Farley.
Let's go with Robin Williams. I watched a pretty great skit with him the other day, actually.
Nice.
He's talking about the Scottish inventing golf.
Oh, God. We're going to call it a stroke because that's what you feel like when you're going to have when you do it. What's your motto for relationships? Follow your heart. Opposites attract. Safety first. It's okay to be alone. It's worth a risk. Relationships?
Let's go with that last one.
Oh, well. Pick a reality TV show to star in. The Bachelorette, Man vs. Wild, Animal Cops, Big Brother, Married at First Sight, Catfish.
I feel like I would do great on The Bachelorette, but I would make for a terrible season of television. Because I would just be like, you two are annoying. Can you go away?
Well, I'm going to put you on The Bachelorette then. You get caught in a compromising position. What face do you make? Oh, this is difficult. I'm gonna have to show it to you.
Oh boy.
It's a bunch of Jim Carrey faces.
I imagine it is. Why is it so blurry?
Probably because I don't have the steadiest of hands.
No, it's not moving that much. Can you zoom it out slightly? Yeah, no, you were too close to. No, I meant to literally pull your. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I can see that much more clearly than. Sorry, what was the actual prompt? Oh, what face do I make when I'm doing what?
You get caught in a compromising position. What face do you make? Some classic Jim Carrey faces in here.
Number 2, the one with him wearing the blue suit.
That's a good one. It's a good one. How do you feel about reality TV? Guilty pleasure? Not my thing.
Not my thing.
All right. Whoa. Okay, you got Ace Ventura from Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. I'm glad they clarified that. Yeah. Alrighty then. You have an unconventional method to doing your job, but somehow it works. You take pride in speaking up for those who can't speak for themselves, even if it means talking out of your ass. That's great.
Well, I've never spoken out of my ass, but the rest of it was actually weirdly on the nose.
That was good. All right. With that, let us get into our flick of the week. The Cable Guy, released in 1996, rated PG-13 at an hour and 36-minute runtime. A lonely and mentally disturbed cable guy raised on television just wants a new friend, but his target, a designer, rejects him with bad consequences. Ow. That was your IMDb synopsis, by the way. Ow. This is the first time you saw this movie full through, right?
Correct.
Okay. Give me your tweet length review.
A very strange, funny, ridiculous experience. Maybe it's just watching it for the first time in 2020, but the Carrey performance of Hank from Me, Myself, and Irene mashed with Ace Ventura didn't quite work for me.
Oh, that's a shame. What did you give it score-wise?
So here's the thing. I rated it as a 5.5 out of 10.
Uh-huh.
It was interesting and entertaining. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I'm never going to watch it again. Like, if it was on, I'd throw it on for a bit. Like, there was some entertaining stuff, but good night.
It stays.
As always. Yeah, it's just, I was a little disappointed. There's two things that work. Well, you say if you want, you can go ahead and do your two.
Sure. All right. So, because I think I know where you're going to go with this, but for me, this horror flick masquerading around as a comedy is equally thrilling as it is hysterical. 7.5 out of 10. The Cable Guy is I love it. I love Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey things, and he really gets to get he lets loose in this movie in a lot of ways, and it's really fun to watch. But I feel like I know where you were. Circling back to what you were saying, I feel like I kind of know where you're going with. I can't objectively state that it's not because I have the nostalgia draw.
Okay. Okay, so I thought you were going to say something slightly different. Yeah, I'm sure nostalgia plays a part in it. Like I said, I never saw it before now. So I was talking about it briefly with my cousin Mike the other day. Hey, Mike. He was asking what movie we were doing this week, and I said Cable Guy. And he said, oh, that was from the time when he was still doing characters. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned, Ace Ventura, the Riddler, a couple other characters who... Yep. The Mask, stuff like that. And I said, so that, I think, and it took him saying that for it to finally click and fully crystallize in my mind. And I said to him, same thing I said in the tweet link reviews, this didn't feel like a distinct character to me. While I was watching it, I was like, oh, I've seen big pieces of this character in Ace Ventura. I've seen big pieces of this character. And that the other half of it was what took me a long time to figure it out. And I think it's Hank from Me, Myself, and Irene. It didn't feel like its own separate character in the way that those other roles did. It felt like this was an amalgamation of some of his greatest hits.
That's a good point, and I would say that actually means that it was done right in the context of the movie, because he didn't know who he was, and his entire character is based on an amalgamation of things that he's watched.
Yes and no. Well, Ace Ventura had already come out, right? Me, Myself, and Irene hadn't come out at the time that this movie came out. So maybe there's something to be said for that. But overall, I just I guess I wish that he had created something more distinct for the role instead of something.
Interesting.
Like, it was the only time that I felt like
you can separate. You could be like Ace. In your mind, you could be like Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey, The Masked Jim Carrey. Like you could pinpoint.
Yeah, like obviously you
don't feel that you could separate this one.
Yes, obviously there are similarities between some of his roles, right? But in general, they feel like different. Like because like a day or two after I watched this movie, I watched like half an hour of Liar Liar. It's been the first time I've seen it.
Oh God, Liar Liar is so good.
There is none of that character in this character. Like that is its own distinct character. It's like the quote unquote most realistic of the characters that he's played at that time, like in his like quote unquote
his wacky days.
Yeah, so like it was the closest to a real human being that he played, right? And none of that really is in.
I'm kicking my ass.
Yeah, none of that is really realistically in this character, and so like the mask feels like fully realized as what it's intended to be. The Ace Ventura character is fully realized in its own way, though it changes slightly from 1 to 2. In 1, he feels a little bit more like, honestly, I imagine Ace is on the spectrum, you know, and 2, they kind of soften that a little bit, but still it's the same character. Hank is a distinctly different character than Charlie, the two separate characters he plays in the same movie, right? And Liar Liar is in another entirely separate character. The Cable Guy didn't feel like its own character to me. Like Bruce Almighty is another totally separate
That's funny because I also feel like on top of it being like I love when he's doing an impersonation of something else, right? Because it seems like for as far as like a lot of his performances go, they actually come from his love of comedy and like funny things that he's attached himself to, like from movies and television. So like it's almost like a mimicking those things in a lot of ways. And like this character kind of gets to let loose in that a bit because that's really the entire character is based on a persona of other characters from TV and film. But the one thing that I think is really that I do think is unique to this character is the actual psychopathic behavior that there's like this movie is dark and like it didn't really dawn on me. I was watching it with Kim. She goes, we're like maybe like I think like 30 or 40 minutes into it, and she goes, "Is this a horror movie?" and I was like, "No." And then we started watching a little bit more, and I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, kind of. Well, so that's the thing is like you mentioned that he's mimicking certain things, and I never felt like he was mimicking. And maybe I mean, like I haven't watched all the shows he referenced, but I never felt like he's mimicking any of those characters. If that's what he had done, if like in certain situations or certain segments of the movie, he mirrored some of the characters that he mentioned, then I think I would have appreciated it a little more. Instead, it felt more like a pastiche of his own work. And I think that's what is one of the things that's holding me back. The other main pillar of what's holding me back on this is I think it took me until this movie to realize I'm not particularly a fan of Matthew Broderick.
Oh, okay.
Ferris Bueller's great. Yep. He's really good in it. Like it's a classic movie. But outside of that, there's nothing I've really seen him in that
I can't really argue with you on that one. I'm not really drawn to him either. Except for like you said, I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and also the line in this movie, "Get out of my house," for whatever reason cracks me up.
Yeah.
Gianna, say hello to the audience. She can't hear me, so you have to relay that message.
Gianna, say hello to the audience.
Hello, audience!
Yeah, in case you didn't hear her slam the door and stomp down the stairs.
Hey man, we're professionals.
Goodbye,
yeah, okay. So so there's a couple of interesting things about this. So like it's funny, like, you know, I mean at the end of the day, I'm probably I'm a one of the bigger Jim Carrey fans. I love him and his style. I am absolutely tickled by his performances, like whatever they are, whether they're serious or not. Like even when he's doing a dramatic role, and like there's a moment of levity in the role, and he does a face or like just a genuine thing that'll make the other person smile. Like he cracks me up. Like he just like whatever the frequency is that he's operating on, I find to be hysterical.
I mean, there's definitely scenes in this where he totally crushes it.
Yeah, 100%.
The scene that I referenced in the intro, the basketball scene, he's great in that scene.
Oh my god,
during that scene.
So actually, let's talk about that for a second. I went through the trivia section on IMDb for this, and I couldn't really corroborate this one because I actually saw some footage of filming of bloopers, which if you can get a chance to watch the bloopers from this movie, they're awesome. It's like the lines that they can't get through aren't even what I would think would be the difficult lines to get through, which is what's really funny. But
I've actually heard references in the past. Matthew Broderick, I don't know that it ever reached anything sort of like a Tommy Lee Jones hatred of Jim Carrey, but I don't think this was a totally harmonious production from start to finish.
Oh, really?
I think that he at times got very frustrated with Jim. I think he got very frustrated with the director. I've seen quotes in which he talked about... It's funny because now that I think about it, when I was... I don't know if it was in a podcast I was listening to or something I was reading, I saw a reference to this. But I don't even remember them saying it was in The Cable Guy. I just remember seeing like a reference to Matthew Broderick complaining about working with Jim Carrey, not being able to get through a scene. And I was like, what movie was Matthew Broderick and Jim Carrey in?
Here it is. And it's funny, listening to the Judd Apatow, I don't remember if it was
maybe it was that one. It might have been the Apatow armchair episode, because like I listened to that like a month or so ago.
Yeah, but he does talk about how in that Matthew Broderick was like they would have to reshoot, like, you know, they'd have to do a bunch of takes for a scene. And he said he would turn to the director and be like, Ben Stiller, I think there's only so many ways I can react to this.
Yes, that was it. That was exactly what I'm talking about. Yes.
But from what I understood from that, it didn't actually sound like it was a frustrating environment as much as it was like it's like the absurdity of it was almost dumbfounding. Like it was crazy to have to deal with that.
The way I interpreted that story was one of frustration.
Oh, interesting. I will say that I ended up, like I said, I went through a bunch of bloopers, which was a lot of fun if you get a chance to. They do seem like they're having a genuinely good time. Granted, I can imagine some of the improv and like retakes and all that stuff being a little bit frustrating because who knows how long they have to go like with that stuff. But like there are some good captures of them having a genuinely good time, and some of them made it into the movie, where if you actually pay attention, Matthew Broderick, Stephen, is laughing in a scene that is supposed to be like awkward for him. And like there's the movie came out in 96. There's no such thing as a spoiler territory. It's beyond the statute of limitations. So there's the scene of the whole, they're in medieval times, the chicken skin on the face. That's an improv scene where in the middle of it, he goes, "Hey, can you give me your chicken skin?" And he gives it to him and he puts it on his face. And that, like, one of those, that take makes it. And if you watch it, Matthew Broderick is actually laughing at him.
Yes.
Even though the response that he gives is more of like one of like, "Can you stop doing what you're doing?" Which is really, I always
think of in Family Guy when Quagmire decides to be a cat person, and he gets, I think the cat's name is James, and he gets too obsessed with the cat, and so Peter, Cleveland, and Joe decide they're going to deal with the cat, and Joe and Cleveland have like pranks in mind, like oh, let's shave the cat, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so Peter breaks out a straight razor and kills the
cat. Has 9 lives.
Yeah,
Peter, stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Is Joe, like Patrick Warburton, like totally deadpanning? Peter, stop doing what you're doing. Like whenever you hear situations like that in a movie, I just picture the other person being like Matthew Broderick being like, Jim, stop.
Yeah. Oh man, it's funny. So a couple of fun facts about this movie. So like, I continually forget that Ben Stiller directed this movie. Every time that I go to rewatch it, I remember, like, I'll see his name. I'll be like, oh, right. Like, this is a thing. There is a fun is probably not the right word. There's a controversial story around the writer credited for this movie and how the writer credited is Lou Holtz Jr.
Yeah, I saw something about that.
There's a whole thing. There was an actual like arbitration with the Screenwriters Guild between like Judd Apatow should be credited as the writer of this movie from the story that I read. I don't know. I obviously don't have all the facts. So that was
the same story I read because when I saw Lou Holtz Jr. wrote this, I was like, wait, is that Lou Holtz's son? Lou Holtz, the famous college football coach, coached Notre Dame to a national championship in like 1990 or 91. He works on ESPN. He's a very old man. And I was like, well, how many Lou Holtzes can there be in the world? Right. Lou Holtz Jr. must be his son, I'm assuming. But it's the only credit he has on IMDb. It's the one writing credit for this movie.
Yeah, and Apatow lost that and is not listed as the writer of the movie, but in the
so he claims that he basically wrote most of what you actually saw,
and so does Ben Stiller.
Yeah,
which is what made it interesting. I didn't realize this whole thing existed around the movie, but like the dark movie, supposedly the dark movie that we got is the Apatow script,
which also, from what I understand, it was supposed to be even darker, and him and Stiller actually pared that back a bit.
Oh, interesting. From Apatow's like original draft, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and the claim was that the original script was meant to be more of like a buddy comedy, like very silly, not a lot of darkness, if any. And the other thing that I thought was funny, there was a couple of places popped up that the character was originally intended for Chris Farley.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it's funny because that you say that the thing about this was intended to be like a lighter buddy cop type thing. I could see this movie even working slightly better if it was more lighter or even more darker. Because at times, like, you can feel...
It's on an awkward line.
Yeah, you can feel the straining at the seams where it's like, oh, we were just, like, super dark, like, 5 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And now this is, like, more slapstick.
Hey, man, that's fair. That's totally fair. There's on the whole, like, where the movie goes, it ends on a dark, like, in a dark place. It takes a minute. It does this weird roller coaster effect before it decides to fully ramp towards the end there. But man, on top of that, the inclusion of this like meta story / universe where Ben Stiller is
the sweet
both
brother?
Himself and his brother. Yeah, like on this murder trial that is sweeping the nation. Like, the whole concept is absurd.
I actually felt myself wanting even a little more of that. Yeah. Like, I it's kind of a funny payoff that at the end you don't know what happens.
Right.
But, like, I found myself even wanting them to slightly hear more news of it. Like, more of the actual courtroom. Like, just...
Oh, yeah. Like, I'd watch that movie, too. What's really funny about that is, during this courtroom drama where there is no verdict, it seems so clear that everyone has decided that he did it.
I mean, It feels like there's almost no evidence to suggest anything other than that he did.
Sure.
And the Lifetime movie.
The Eric Roberts movie.
The Eric Roberts.
I wrote it. Like I rewatched it.
Certain.
Yeah, I rewatched it like 4 or 5 times so that I can get the entire like movie man like voiceover, which was so Eric Roberts is Sam and Stan Sweet in Brother, Sweet Brother, The Killing of Stanton Sweet.
Which it's weird because like it like draws from like those 90s like fucking like Lifetime movies about that sort of stuff that have still carried on even today. Like you're still seeing shit like that in like American Crime Story with the Kardashian OJ one that they did a few years ago. Like it's almost the same thing. Like there's a little bit more polished, but it's almost the same fucking thing.
Yep.
Even like Trust or the assassination of was it Gianni Versace? Like all of the ones that did on FX, like it is more polished, but it's still the same advertisement. It's still the same story.
Right. It's so weird. This the movie's got quite the cast of characters as far as main cast goes, and then including like all of the cameos that are just there that like pop in and out.
Yeah, there was a lot of them. I mean, I guess I didn't realize like if Andy Dick had anything to do with like Apatow or Stiller or Carey for that matter. But Janine Garofalo obviously was in Mystery Men. I think the same year. Was it 97? I think that this movie came out, and
this movie's 96, but yeah.
Oh, I thought it was 97. I think Mystery Men is 97. Like even something as random as somehow, even though Jack Black is barely in this movie, Kyle Gass is also in this movie.
100%. Bob and Dave are in this movie.
Yeah, that totally blew me like away. Like they weren't even in any of the same scenes together. This would have been in the height of Mr. Show, but Ben Stiller was involved with Mr. Show, I think. So, or Odenkirk and Cross were involved with the Ben Stiller show. I forget, but they definitely were involved with him in some way, shape, or form. It was funny because David Cross like barely is in the movie at all, but he's in like 2 scenes. It's like, oh, what a random thing. And then like third act, Bob Odenkirk shows up. Like, come on.
Yeah. It's real silly. It's fun. Owen Wilson just playing
he's such a douchebag in this.
Straight up. Yeah. You know what's funny? It's like that scene is completely unnecessary. It's basically a skit.
Yeah.
But it's really funny.
Well, it is necessary because it ends up showing the ridiculous lengths that he'll go to.
I guess that's fair.
Well, because eventually you see a lot of the ridiculous lengths he'll go to in the negative, but you'll also see in this case like he's just as obsessive in the positive, where it's like, right, I screwed up a little bit. Let me
fix it
so far to fix things for him.
Yep. So we're of course talking about how Jim Carrey dismisses the bathroom attendant with a $20 bill to say, go take a break. With his fake mustache, becomes the bathroom attendant, and then beats the living hell out of Owen Wilson, who is a douchebag in the movie.
Spectacularly, really creative.
Really, he really does own douchebag in this movie. It's pretty great. Like, so much, it's like, that's Oscar-worthy douchebaggery.
I was actually talking about the ways in which Jim Carrey beats him up. But also, Owen Wilson is the douchiest he's ever been in any role ever. And
I think,
is a Hall of Fame douchebag.
Definitely. Probably the best part about that fight sequence, though, or that beat-up sequence, I should say, is how Owen Wilson is at the urinal, decides that, okay, this guy's going to keep talking to me, goes into the bathroom stall, and Jim Carrey standing up from behind him with the clear indication that he went under the bathroom stall.
He clearly slithered under there.
Was just, I could almost see the ridiculous motion that he would have made to do it because of how he is. The way that he combines his facial expressions, body movement, like the just vocal contortion. Like, it's ridiculous. I love the recipes that he puts together.
In all forms, right? Like, by his body, by his voice, by his performances. Like, there's no bit of him that he can't wrangle into a new position.
Yeah. Oh man, he cracks me up. Just circling back real quick to the fact that Kyle Gass is in it. Also, that whole concept of the cable going out at the end and him just like reaching over and grabbing a book and being immediately satisfied was so silly. It was just such a silly thing. I love that. So Al, let's get into some of our, do you have like any favorite moments you can point out? That Kyle Gass one was on my list. I'm going to knock that one out.
My favorite moment of this movie is bittersweet because it's the scene at medieval times. And I just have to wonder what it is that I did to you. Why I'm so deeply disappointed we never got to fight to the death at medieval times. Yes, I've killed Anthony. I've slayed him with the spoken word instead of with a battle axe. You lived like 1,000 feet from medieval times.
It was great.
You and I never got to fight to the death at medieval times.
It's true.
I'm deeply disappointed by this.
It's true. For how close I lived, we didn't go nearly enough.
I went 0 times. So.
Oh, okay. I think we went twice while we lived there.
We were supposed to go for your birthday, and that just didn't happen.
it got like split into 2 days because certain people couldn't make it, and like then I think the tickets got I think the show got canceled and we had to move it or something. It was a weird. There was a weird thing.
Something like that. I know I was there for your birthday. I know we took a walking tour of the area around. We went to Arthur's.
Yeah,
we went to knock off Arthur's, faux Arthur's.
Knock off. Yeah, definitely not real Arthur's.
Got fake hour steak.
Faux steak.
Yeah. Well, I was going for the rhyme of fake and steak. But,
yeah.
We did drink too much that day, so that's okay. Did we go anywhere else other than Arthur's, or
I don't even know. Probably back to the apartment to drink more.
I remember getting pretty drunk that night.
Yeah,
but we had
booze at the house.
Well, I couldn't remember if it was after Arthur's, if we went somewhere else drinking, or if we went back to your apartment and got too drunk there. But
we went back.
We walked right past Medieval Times.
Yeah. So that Medieval Times. The one thing that's really funny to me about this, like when they go there in the movie, is I was thinking about like, man, like we really didn't. I mean, we had fun. We went there a couple of times when we lived there, but we didn't take advantage of it. And then there's this scene in the movie. He's like, "Yeah, I come here like twice a week." I was like, "Oh, that could have been me."
Nah, twice a week is too much. You need to pace yourself a little bit, I think.
Yep. Granted, every time we go to Medieval Times, it's Cable Guy lines all day.
I was gonna say, like, the fact that they were able to get into full battle armor with multiple weapons, including that ridiculous axe with, like, I'm not even entirely sure what that half moon thing at the bottom was. And, like, he just keeps getting more and more serious and, like, appreciates that he's beating the shit out of it. I just couldn't, unfathomable. How many takes must that have been? Like, for him to get that song perfectly done and they sync up the track perfectly. Like, like, it wasn't just that he got all the notes right, but he got the cadence right too.
I know. The other part of that too is this again came up in the IMDb trivia. It sounded like the way Matthew Broderick had responded in some interview questions for it. It sounded like it was like a few 16-hour days of shooting, and he's highly allergic to horses. So admittedly not the best.
I've never even heard of a horse allergy before. That's a first.
It's so ridiculous.
Honestly, some of the best bits of that scene too was like Andy Dick is like, "Oh no, he's dead serious. You better get out there."
Yeah. I also like this concept of like he's able to get wherever he wants to go in life because he keeps giving people free cable.
Yes.
But we find out towards the end of the movie that he hasn't worked with a cable company in a really long time.
Which also, like, that's a really 1997 thing, where 96, whatever it is, where, like, even though you no longer work from the cable company, you can still install cable.
Right. Oh, man.
That just wouldn't fly right now. Like,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, you need, like, the decoding boxes and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, there's so much hardware you wouldn't have access to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. When he's trying to find... Come on, baby. Speak to me.
Speak to me. He's like groping the walls.
Yeah. And rubbing the circle with his finger. It was just very unsettling. But he's like, that's your sweet spot right there. And when
everything is basically unsettling in this movie.
The way that scene of him clacking away at the remote control in like this weird... The weird way that he's holding it, and he's like
chef, the Salt Bay chef, like
and he's adjusting like the tip, the sharpness, all that. It's so funny. I love it. He really does crack me up. He can do anything. It makes me laugh. But what else you got under favorite moments?
Well, that was my favorite moment, culminating with the joust.
Okay,
basically fucking kills him. Like,
I think that probably my absolute favorite one, which I found out after the fact. Seems like it was also improv, which I always love that. I always love when something is just so good it has to stay. But when he loses his lisp, Steven punches him in the face. He goes, "Hey, oh my God, my lisp is gone." And he punches him again, and he goes, "You son of a bitch." and the thing that I read there was saying that he just started doing the take, forgetting to implement the lisp that he's had the entire movie. And in like sometimes when they're doing a take, they'll just like the actors will just kind of reset and do it again. You'll see it, and then they'll take the portion of it that's good. So like in punching him again, he he went into like how it's back, which I think, which is so good.
It reminds me of that scene in Christmas Vacation when the when Cousin Eddie and his wife and kids come, and one of their grandparents goes, or I guess it was one of the adults' parents, whatever, goes, "Oh, her eyes, they're normal." He goes, "Yep, she fell into a well, eyes go cross-eyed. She gets kicked by a donkey, they come uncrossed." I don't know. And it's like, oh, he gets punched in the face, lisp gone. Punched in the face again, it's back. Who the fuck knows? Like, I don't know. I actually kind of liked that running joke of, hey, I have these solutions to your lisp, and he just doesn't get it. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, lisp. But then when he gives him the tapes and he's like real choked up about it, it's kind of sweet.
Yeah. Well, I expected that to be where it blows up, and he actually takes it sincerely and like honestly and like appreciates it. It's like, I was not expecting that, honestly, in this moment. Between the medieval times, the basketball game is pretty great.
It is great.
Like slow motion slam break.
Thanks for the boost.
What's that?
Thanks for the boost.
Which is great shit talking. Like, the scene with the party is pretty great. I wondered whether any of it was kind of like you were talking about improv stuff. The
password stuff.
What's that?
The password stuff.
Yeah, and like the girl like massaging him was so ridiculous. I kind of wondered if it was like the prompt was just, hey, do a bunch of ridiculous, over the top, maybe possibly sensual stuff, and it's just like to love. She's like, no, Hershey with
I know.
Hair.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much.
I knew, like, you have to know, right, that there's more to that story when he points him in her direction. She's the only girl there who's not 20 years old.
Yep.
And like there's something like not 100%, I'll say, normal in this case. Like, don't normal that. There's something off in the movie context of this character. It's like red flag should be going off there.
Yeah.
And like they hit it off way too quick, and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm like, so is it his girlfriend and
you buy next time
her? Like, is it his sister and like she's doing him a solid? Like, is it just another preferred customer who's so happy with the service that she's a prostitute. Okay, fantastic.
Scramby eggs.
Scramby eggs.
The finale of when he's hanging off the side of the satellite dish, like before he falls, and Matthew Broderick Stephen is trying to hold on to him, and he's just like, he's still in his own whacked out world, and he's like, don't you understand, Stephen? Somebody has to kill the babysitter.
And like, that's another one of those things where, like, if they leaned more into the whole idea of he was raised by television, that would make sense. But it felt like a total, like, last minute, like, change to that. Like, it felt like, okay, we'll have the thing that, he's making names based on TV characters be his thing because he watched a lot of TV. Okay. It felt like they had more to do with that and didn't actually do it.
Well, there was the whole scene of him being a child.
Yeah, I know, but like it still felt like there was more.
I don't know. Some of the weirdness I feel like lies in the mystery of like the rest of his life, which could be interesting. One of my I mentioned a couple of other favorite scenes, but again, like this is like perfect Jim Carrey, because there's no reason for this to play out the way that it does. But the scene where he's in Robin's apartment doing the cable, and she comes on screen and he swings down and out from the attic. There's no reason for the dramatic swing that he makes, but it is perfect.
But like, that is perfect Carrey, right?
That's 10 out of 10 stick the landing Carrey.
the super close up of him like wiggling his way through the air ducts.
And actually, on that note, on the least favorite moments of the movie, Daddy Longlegs crawling across his face. Didn't need that.
Oh, I forgot about that, actually.
Do you have any of those? Anything specifically that really bothered you?
No, not like any one specific scene, I guess. I mean, because a couple of scenes where I was like really like, ugh, ended up being scenes where, from a story standpoint, like it made sense. Like the scene where he cuts the cable out and he's actually outside the like that shows the depth of his obsession and what lengths he's willing to go to manipulate him and all that. So like I'm super annoyed in the moment of like the scene, but like it does totally fit with the story they're trying to tell. So like I'm like, it's not actually like a least favorite moment, but like some of those cringe awkward things were too much for me. Like where it's like, ugh, come on. Like how does one get through this scene? But some of them are so perfect when he's talking to him like over the scrambled eggs. Like I'm just like, oh no, I don't want this conversation. No. And it's like super important to what's going on, right?
Yeah. Al. Penis. 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 Vagina? Oh, man. Porno Password. Great game. Great game to play with family.
That was actually, if you want to talk about like cringe awkward being too much, that was a little too much.
It was definitely too much. The scene that's not too much, also real great Carrie, is when Steven and Robin are at the apartment. They're about to watch Sleepless in Seattle, and the cable goes out, and he calls the cable. I have his number. I'm a preferred customer. He gave me his direct line. He calls him, and immediately there's a knock at the door. When he goes to open the door, is there a problem with your therapist?
It was very it felt like it was very Edgar Wright, right?
And because like the quick turn to the door from the sound, but he's holding the cable, right? With like the split end.
Yes.
And he's like, so he gets him to like smooths things over, and he goes to the box and he just flips the switch and turns the cable back on. What's the deal with the cable? Just for dramatic effect.
That was the type of thing where I wondered whether, sometimes there's like continuity errors in movies.
Yeah.
And I wondered if that was one of them, and Carrie improv the line and is like, well, that's a better explanation than anything we could have come up with. So, yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, and now he cuts the cable out. Okay, fine. And now he's holding a cable. Okay, great. And now he's going to walk back and flip a switch and it's going to be back on. And like Jim Carrey's like, but I'm holding the cable I very clearly ripped out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do we do? He goes, no, I got
you. There's one other thing. I actually copied this whole thing from the trivia section of IMDb. I thought it was kind of funny. So it says, Judd Apatow and Ben Stiller went to South Carolina to meet Jim Carrey while he was shooting Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls in 1995. For a few days of creative discussion on the script, at a bar, Carrey came up with the idea of having his character push his chest up against the glass, like in Midnight Express, and writing on the napkin, "Tits on glass."
Actually, if you want to talk about another, like one of the favorite scenes, it's when he
Billy.
It's when he calls on him in the prison, and he's like, he's basically acting like a jealous lover.
Yeah,
but he's pretending to be his lawyer, but he's actually being his obsessive, maybe best friend.
100%. The movie cracks me up. I could watch him Carrey all day. He really, like I said, there's just something about him. His humor just lands with me. I don't know if it's just like growing up with it or whatnot, but like anytime I see him, I already smile. Like he's so funny to me. Do you have any other notes on this bad boy?
Well, I mean, Carrey is doing a tour de force like performance thing. Like some of it's too much, some of it's exactly right. All of it's ridiculous.
Sure.
Broderick is him. Like he's fine in some scenes. There's other scenes where, like, I mean, I guess maybe technically you're not supposed to like either character, but if you're going to like more closely align with one or the other, it's the guy who's seems like a regularly like a relatively like normal dude who's kind of put upon in this situation, and he's trying to navigate. Well, how do I be nice and also like cut it off with this guy? And instead he ends up like doubling down at times, which makes it harder for him to then walk away. The character I didn't really get in this was the Leslie Mann character.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt like she was kind of underwritten and also just kind of there. At times.
I was kind of curious about that too. It was just like a device for him to be on his own, but like it almost seems like there wasn't the only like the main portion of it being like the Steven character is in love with Robin, and maybe it makes it like so more realistic that he'd be like going out to save her life at the end of the movie. But like otherwise, the rest of the setup of there, like it's just like he's on his own. I guess I mean there's some fun stuff of like of Chip trying to like help them with their relationship, things like that, which is funny. But like otherwise, yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the character doesn't really have much written there.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
It's funny too because like Apatow is her husband. Like I guess maybe they weren't married at that time.
No, I think they met on the set of this movie
because like they obviously worked together a bunch of times. So I wasn't sure exactly what the starting point of that was and what was just like a continuation of hey, my wife is going to work on this movie. It just felt like
it is odd. I agree, but honestly, it almost goes the same way for like any of the like everybody. It's like there's Steven and Chip, and everybody else is like. I mean, they're supporting characters, but they almost seem all like cameos because it almost feels like a 2-man show.
Yeah,
and like there's like some of that other stuff could happen as like a voiceover off screen in a weird way, like because it almost seems like a stage play with just like these two characters interacting with each other.
Yeah, which ends up being a lot of the best stuff. Like ultimately, like and maybe some of it was tensions flaring or whatever, but like they do ultimately have pretty good rapport.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the thing about like no matter who you're talking about, they all feel like guest stars. Like even Jack Black, who's supposed to play his best friend,
right,
feels like he's barely in the movie.
Yeah, it's like oh look, Jack Black's in this too. That's what it feels. That's what it seems like.
I mean, like the basketball scene was pretty great. Like
yes,
just him totally laying out like the whole thing with the thing about the boost where he climbs up his back is like oh my god.
Oh man, so it's a silly one for sure. I will happily do more Carrie films going forward. Anything else on this one?
No, I don't think so. It was definitely weird. It was fun. I wonder if someone else had been cast in the Broderick role, if I would have enjoyed it more. I wonder if
I'd be curious about that.
Jim Carrey had done some slightly different choices, if I had enjoyed it more. Just there was times where like the tone just felt totally inconsistent from like scene to scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I totally understand where you're coming from with that. Part of me wonders if that is more by design than it seems. The movie is definitely like I feel like meant to throw you off.
Oh, for sure. You're meant to be uncomfortable, which is a stellar classic. It's something that Apatow often gets involved with. I do wonder if the combination of the rewritten / worked script and was this Stiller's first real directing, I think?
I think so, yeah.
So those combinations may have made for it being a more rough production, right?
Yeah, it could, for sure. For sure. Well, anyway. That's all for this week's episode of Flix in a 6. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixina6@thespintune.com or tweet us at thespintune. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bilsey.
Thanks for coming out.